to start going. So, and I believe Courtney has dropped in the chat box the link to the presentation. So you're all welcome to click on that and join. And so welcome for being here today. And if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide, Christine, that would be great. So please, really quick, as we are letting more and more people into the chat or into the meeting, we have this question for you. And please feel free to unmute or share in the chat box. What is your favorite fall food, treat, or drink that you could not live without if you couldn't have it? Oh, so much pie. Peppermint hot chocolate. Ooh, that is yummy. Apple cider, pecan pie. Oh, apple strudel. That's a good one. Apple pie. Dr. Pepper all year long. Yes, that is from Susan. I know that. And she's got her Sugar Rush drink that her husband goes and gets for her all the time. So Sugar Rushes are up here in the North End. It's a local soda shop, and it is amazing. It's way better than Fizz or Swig or any of the other chains. It is just, I don't know why they use the same syrups, but it is the best. But pumpkin chocolate chips, pumpkin spice, everything. Sweet potato pie. Okay, my daughter had sweet potato pie when she was in North Carolina on her mission, and I tried to make it when she came home, and I failed at it big time. So if you have a recipe you want to email me, that would be fantastic. Caramel apple green. Okay, caramel green apple soda. I don't think I've ever tried that. I'll have to try that one. You have the best one. Please send it to me, Christy. I hope that's for the sweet potato pie recipe. Please email it to me. I will take that because I
It
really
is for the
failed.
sweet potato pie. I have the best one that my sister makes, and it is the bomb diggity. I've not had any better.
Oh, please send me the recipe. I will take it. Thank you. But mine is I make a pumpkin cake roll. My family does not like the pumpkin pie thing, but we love the pumpkin cake roll. So that's one thing that we can't live without. Oh, share it with everyone, please. Okay. Post the recipe. Okay. Everybody wants the sweet potato pie recipe. Christy, you're going to have to share that with us now. But thank you so much for engaging in that. I love to see all of the fun things that everybody just loves and is willing to share with all of us. So thank you so much. And we'll go ahead and go to our next slide and we'll go over the agenda really quickly. So we have a message from Ed Connective and some updates from them and some opportunities that they have to share with us. And remember, anything that you engage in with Ed Connective is free for included with SB 127. So we'll go through that, and then we'll have Denise share some information about oral language. Again, she's going to share a little bit about developing oral language and the importance throughout each of our LD meetings this year. And then we're going to share some professional learning opportunities. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back and we'll have Dallas share some updates from assessment. And I've heard, I haven't seen them, but I've heard that schools have got their RISE assessment data, I think. So yay. But she'll share some assessment updates, and then we have some additional updates and information to share with you about the agency, and then some reminders, and then we'll have our Q&A. So we'll go ahead and go on to Ed Connective, and I'll turn the time over to Amber Brewer. So thank you for being with us, Amber, to share some information from Ed Connective. So thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Julie. I'm so excited to see so many familiar names in the participants list and coming through in the chat. And it seems like I was on brand with my my presentation this week, so I'm excited. We can go on and go to the first slide. My name is Amber Brewer, and I am the manager of specialized partnerships for Ed Connective. And Ed Connective is your one-stop shop for support with implementing science of reading aligned instructions within your districts. And we are so excited to be able to collaborate with the USBE as a part of SB 127 in that way. If you have questions or want to reach out, you can use either one of those email addresses on the screen to contact me, and I will be more than happy to talk to you about your specific circumstances and needs and see what we can work to, how we can work to support you. But I'm going to start with a story, actually first. And so we can go on to the next slide. And so happy Pie-vember to many of you. I saw lots of pie coming through the chat. And for many of you like me, this time of the year is pie season. I do love pie of all kinds, all varieties. I also really love cooking and baking. And but for the most part, historically, I haven't always been the one to make the pies in my family. Growing up, my grandmother made pies and all kinds of goodies. For most of my adult life, my mom and my grandmother-in-law have been the one to make pies for special occasions. But recently, a dear friend of mine was celebrating something special, and I wanted to make a pie for her to celebrate. And it just so happened that her favorite dessert was another North Carolina classic, and not sweet potato pie, but pecan pie. And I do cook and bake a lot. In fact, I make bread every week, but I had never made a pecan pie before. That wasn't a mantle that had been passed on to me yet in our family. And I don't know about Utah, but down here in North Carolina, pecan pies are a thing, and people take them kind of seriously. Everyone has an opinion about what makes one good, and they are notoriously finicky at times to make, to get them to set up. And so, anyway, to get ready to make this pie, I wanted it to be really good because I knew I really only got one shot of the pie working out for my friend. And so I did the things we do today. I turned to the internet. I did research. I read recipe after recipe. I compared various pie crusts. I bought a new pie plate because, you need all the things. But when it comes down to it, and despite all of my experience baking and all of my Great British Baking Show recipe, like episodes that I've watched, I still felt uncertain because it was something I hadn't done before in this way. And so I had all the knowledge and the skill and the will, but I still didn't know if I could pull it off. I still didn't know if I could get it all together on my own. But that grandmother-in-law that I mentioned earlier, it just so happens that she's baked dozens, probably hundreds of pecan pies in her life. And every one of them that I had ever eaten had always been delicious. Because I knew how important it was for this pie to come out right on behalf of my friend in the celebration, and I had the privilege of accessing someone who had literally made hundreds of pies. What do you think was the most logical thing for me to do? Well, before I ever mixed a single ingredient, I reached out to my grandmother-in-law to cross-reference the recipes I had researched with hers. And when I got ready to put the pie in the oven and I texted her a picture, she sent back a text of affirmation that just really made me feel so affirmed. But then when it was time to take the pie out of the oven, I noticed something didn't look quite as I expected. I immediately sent another picture to my grandmother-in-law, and in this situation, she also said she had never seen something happen to the pie in that way. But what she did was she recounted with me the steps that I took in putting the pie together, the specific details that I might not have paid close attention to. And when all came said and done, we figured out what it was that had happened and realized that it probably would have been okay. I was able to respond strategically using my knowledge and skills that I already had, combined with her wisdom and prior experience. In the end, the pie turned out successfully. My friend was thrilled, and I'm more than equipped to take on another bake like this in the future. But having my grandmother-in-law as a resource, as a sounding board, as a cheerleader was essential and absolutely priceless in actually making this happen. So let's go on to the next slide. You're probably like, why is Amber from Ed Connected here talking to us about pie in our literacy directors meeting? Oh, the problem was that I had beaten the eggs with a whisk before I mix them into the mixture? Great question there, Susan. And so because I had beaten them and put so much air into them, we think that it caused the pie to rise and dome. But after it came out of the oven, it did sink back down to a flat surface like it was supposed to. So yeah, she helped me break it down because I had no idea. I'm like, there's no leavening agent in this pie. Why did it rise? Anyway, so you might be thinking like, why is she here telling us this pie anecdote? Well, I realized afterwards that in my situation, I had to complete a really important performance task that I really got one shot at. I mean, I could have baked another one, but it would have been really ineffective to have to keep baking. Sometimes you do, but I was on a time crunch, and I really wanted this to happen for my friend before her special event that she had. Other people were counting on me. I needed to get it right in a short period of time with many other life competing priorities. And I had to find a way to sort through all of the information that was at my fingertips, and my own experience. And I realized that this experience was paralleled what the work that you guys are doing every day. You have experience. You're so knowledgeable. You guys are incredible. I talk to you often. I hear from your coaches. You guys are doing some incredible work. You have incredible access to knowledge and ideas and creativity and leadership. But like me, sometimes you feel like you only have a short period of time to get it right. And you know other people, little people, big people are counting on you. It's a performance task. Leadership is a performance task. And in my situation, I was able to benefit from the wisdom and experience of my grandmother-in-law, because I was willing to reach out and connect with her. Many of you might feel maybe you have people you connect with and you can talk to about what you're experiencing, but many of you might not. You might be the only one in your district, in your area, that's doing the type of work that you're doing, and you don't really have anyone not like that to turn to. And so that's really where we come in. All literacy directors, as Julie alluded to, and other leaders, like their designees who are supporting K-3 science of reading implementation for their district or charter, are eligible to benefit from the experience and prior challenges that Ed Connective professional learning consultants have experienced in their walk. And it's at no cost to you or your district or your organization. Partnering with us is already funded for you or the designees in your district doing that work through SB 127. All you have to do is send that connection, and we will be glad to come alongside you in the work that you're doing. And you don't have to bake alone. That's where my slide comes from. You don't have to bake this pie of work that you're doing alone. And so let's jump into the next slide with some of the opportunities that we've been baking up this fall to continue to offer support to district leaders across the state. We have our fall partnerships that are happening, and I'm going to share some updates about them. I'm going to share about our upcoming literacy roundtable that we're really excited to host. We have a new style of offering called a micro session that we're piloting this fall. And many of you also know, because you answered them, we facilitated connection calls this fall to connect with leaders across the state. And then I will briefly give you one other note about how to stay in touch with us for when you have those moments that you're baking the pie and you're like, I would like someone else to give me some thoughts on this. So we can go ahead to the next slide. This slide, I always love to share about our cumulative data in our partnership so far. We have had the opportunity to support 138 plus unique LEA leaders since 2023. And that includes 32 different districts, 39 different charters, and 5 other organizations that are doing this type of work in and across Utah. We can go on to the next slide. This specific cycle this fall, some of the things that other leaders have been working on with their Ed Connective consultants include creating tools to support instructional practices. So think about ways, strategies, and tools to help their teachers better implement certain curriculum, new curriculum that they've chosen, or tools to help their coaches collect data in the classroom about what's happening related to science of reading. We've also seen many leaders working on systems and processes for instructional support. So what does coaching look like? What does coaching to support literacy specifically look like? And how might that be different than other coaching happening in my district elsewhere? And then the last kind of big bucket of work that we've seen come about from leaders this semester with their Ed Connected consultant is creating professional learning that sticks. And so this is the big umbrella of professional learning, both presentations and workshops or whatever they're needing to facilitate, but also like PLCs, or specific coaching conversations that they're having and how to make that coaching really effective for those that they're serving. We can go on to the next slide. If you're curious what the journey of these individuals who are participating looks like, this is always my go-to slide for our overview. Participants are always matched with a coach based off of what they complete in their survey when they sign up. And we do our best, but we also recognize that not everyone's a good initial fit. And we're always glad to rematch for no reason, at no harm to the coach and no harm to you. It's just one of those things. We have lots of fabulous coaches, but it's important that you have a coach that makes you feel seen and heard and supported. After that, our participants get a welcome email and they participate in an intro session where they select a goal that they want to focus on for their partnership. And these goals are things that the work they're already doing. They're not other goals. They're not things we're prescribing or saying. We're not in the business of that. We're in the business of, you're already doing this work. How can we come alongside you and support you? You've already got to bake this pie. How can we help you with that? And then from there, we start a cycle of using artifacts, reflections, or even recordings in some situations for our consultants to support you with moving forward towards your goal. You meet with your coach and you repeat that on a cadence that aligns with your work schedule, your workload. We have some participants who meet as few as 3 to 4 times during a cycle, once a month. But we have other participants we've got some right now who have met as much as 12 during the course of their partnership cycle already. At the end of the cycle, you get a nice little report that just goes to you that shows a recounting of what you worked on with your coach and the progress that you've made. And it's really a great way to see, like, wow, look at this. Like, look what we did. Look what I did. And at the end, for anyone who completes 9 or more coaching sessions, you're eligible for a half USBE credit just for participating. And you have access to a coach in 90-day cycles. So each cycle lasts 90 days. And I think this is probably my favorite slide. We'll go to the next one, is our total session count. It's always really exciting. So we can go on to the next slide if we can. If we can't, no worries. But so far, since June of 2023, we have hosted 1,506 individual coaching sessions. This is as of Monday of this week with various leaders across Utah. All right, so let's talk about what else is available. We hear often that people are busy and they love their experience with Ed Connected, but they're not in a space to be able to commit to a 90-day partnership right now. We totally get that. So let's talk about some of the other ways you can connect with us and get the support that maybe you don't have access to otherwise. Let's go on to the next slide. On December the 2nd, we will be hosting our Fall Literacy Roundtable from 1 to 2 p.m. We're going to have an email going out about that this week. And we're so excited. These literacy roundtables are an opportunity for participants and others in the literacy leader community in Utah to share about their experiences and to learn about what's happening inside partnerships and what other districts are doing. We're so excited that this cycle, we will be talking about aligning coaching, leadership, and systems for literacy success. And we're very thankful to be able to spotlight Ashley Peterson and the work that she's been able to do in the last couple of years. And so we're really excited. We are going to I'll have a way to sign up for that at the end. So I'll put that in the chat. We'll move to the next slide. We are also piloting a new offering this fall. So now's a great time to take advantage and help us gather some data to see if it is a good fit for our leaders in Utah. Something called a micro session. So if you don't have time to sign up for a full 90-day partnership or whatever, but you're like, I am making this and I really need to talk. I would love to talk to somebody about it. You can sign up for a micro session. This is a bite-sized, one-off, no commitment coaching opportunity to work with one of our consultants around what that bite-sized thing that you are, working on right now. It's open to any eligible literacy leaders that are not currently participating in a full partnership. And so the initial feedback we've gotten from the ones we've hosted already this fall, one was, I loved the questions and experience that our coach provided us. It helped us gain clarity and move forward in the right direction. A little nudge to help you move your work forward and a little opportunity for reflection. If you're interested in a micro session, test it out, see how it goes. There is a QR code on the screen and a bit.ly. I will be putting those in the chat in just a moment when we get to the final slide. Great question, Natalie. Oh, I wish we could offer it to teachers. Unfortunately, the way that it's funded, we are unable to offer it to teachers, something like this to teachers at this time, because it is funded through SB 127 specifically for literacy leaders. But you could work with, if you're working with a team to support your science of reading implementation, it is designed so that you and like 4 of your closest team members, up to 5 team members, could collaborate in a session together. So it's not directly open for teachers in their direct support, but it is available for leaders and those in their circle that are doing the professional learning work for the district. Question. Thank you, Colleen. Yes, if you do a micro session and you're like, oh yeah, I love this, like, I want some more, you can absolutely move into a 90-day cycle from there. Absolutely. So the micro session was something we're testing for people who don't know. Like either they're curious, they don't know about they don't know if a 90-day session is something they can commit to, but they still want to access support. So absolutely, if you're like, I really love this, what can I do? You can absolutely move to a 90-day session after. Great questions. Thank you, guys. And we'll go ahead and move on to our next slide, which talks about the connection calls. So thank you guys so much. We have several people here that answered the phone. We did a calling campaign this fall to be able to connect with 2 of our consultants. They called literally everyone we have on our call list to just see how things are going, just check in, and to make sure that they had a space to potentially connect with a consultant this fall if it worked for them, just even through the phone call. And so we completed, I think, close to over 200 calls, 250 calls over the course of the month of October. And so thank you guys for those who were able to answer. If you weren't able to answer your voicemail, you were like, who is this person or what are they calling about? That was us. And so you're welcome to call or text me at my number 301-244-8369. I'll put that in the chat in a moment. If you would like to follow up on that. But thank you, and for those who were able to respond. And then finally, coming into a close, is stay in touch. We regularly send out updates via email. You can join our email list using the bit.ly, or if you're already signed up and you're like, you said you regularly send out emails, but I've never seen an email from you and I signed up before. Probably what's happening is we're in your spam folder or your district's spam blocker somewhere. So if you would add a brewer at edconnective.io to your email contacts list, usually that allows us to be able to send the emails. And so we just like to flag that every once in a while. This happens with our coaches too, when they're trying to reach out to participants, that, email blockers send people unexpected ways sometimes. So if you're like, hey, I thought I signed up, but I've never gotten an email from you, that would be my suggestion. Or if you email me and say, I've never heard from you, I'd like to sign up, that'll also usually trigger in the system that we're not a threat and allow us to get them through. All right, so finally, I'm promoting our literacy roundtable, and I'll drop in the chat all of our links for the micro session and the literacy roundtable. We hope to have as many of you as available. I know December is a tough time of the year with middle of year testing coming up and various things. But we'd love to have you if you're available. And if you register, even if you can't come, you'll probably get you may be able to access the recording or recorded portions of it afterwards. So pro tip there. But we would love to have you sign up and for either the literacy roundtable or a micro session going into this winter. Thank you guys so much for the work that you're doing. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this meeting. What you do is important and meaningful, and thank you just for doing it. And I hope you guys have a great fall and winter, and I look forward to seeing you again in January.
Thank you, Amber. So great to hear all the information and all the opportunities that you can engage in with EdConnective and how they can support. And now we'll turn the time over to Denise as she shares some information about oral language.
Thank you, Julie. And actually, we're going to start with Harmony. And Harmony Langford, our coach of coaches, is going to do a review of what we talked about at our last literacy director meeting on why oral language is important as a refresher. And then after she's done, then we're going to talk about oral language assessments today. So we'll turn it over to you, Harmony, for a minute. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We can flip that slide, please. Just as a reminder, oral language is critically important. In fact, it's the foundation of our ability to learn to decode print, the ability to comprehend what we read. It's foundational to numeracy. It allows us to connect to other people, build relationships, and it enables us to regulate our emotions and our behaviors. And of course, language is the primary means through which instruction for learning is delivered, both in the classroom and beyond. So if we can flip that slide, I'll remind you about the Reading as Language model, which has been created by Snolling and Hume. And they have two different representations of it. This is a little bit simpler model that we'll start with, where we think about there being waves of literacy development, with each wave providing the foundation for the one that follows it. So each wave is dependent on earlier waves for their development. And the waves are designed to convey the idea of particularly rapid phases of development for particular skills. So when we look at the waves in this model, the waves represent the idea of going from younger on the left side to older on the right side, with each wave representing a period of rapid change. And we see that we begin, of course, with language development, which starts actually before birth even, and it shows rapid development in the preschool years. From birth through the preschool years. And then with that language in place, students can begin to develop an understanding of the alphabetic principle, the relationship between printed letters and the sounds that they represent. And having that knowledge then, of course, enables the development of word reading skills, which then, with those skills in place, reading comprehension can develop. And so as we look at the Reading as Language model, you may remember we talked about that this model views language and literacy as inherently interconnected and interdependent, with language being at the heart of learning to read and a critical foundation for literacy. If we can flip to the next slide, this is just an expansion, an extended presentation of Snolling and Hume's model. and it emphasizes the causal relationships between oral language and literacy development. If we look along the top, we can see the typical periods of rapid development for each part of the model that I mentioned briefly as we reviewed the wave. One thing that's especially unique about the reading as language model that we don't see in some of the other models, such as the simple view of reading or Scarborough's rope, is that this model includes a pre-reading phase showing that the development of language skills, that speaking and listening occurs before and then facilitates later literacy development. So I believe if you click, we'll get a highlight of that. Okay, so there's that top row there. And then as discussed in the WAVE presentation, that second row demonstrates that early language development precedes and makes possible the development of, once we have that language, we can develop the alphabetic code skills, which then enable word reading, which then can lead to reading fluency and reading comprehension. When we look at the bottom row of the model, we can see that early language skills are highly predictive of later language skills. And often those language skills are close related to what we often refer to as world knowledge or that content knowledge. And that is most often conveyed, of course, through language. And with all that in place, then students are prepared to be skilled readers and skilled comprehenders. And there is significant longitudinal data that supports this model. We discussed some of that in our last meeting. But before I turn the time back over to Denise, the real critical thing about this model is that the reading as language model helps us see that anything that we do to strengthen language will also strengthen both code and word reading and later language skills and reading comprehension. So it's absolutely critical that we attend to this language piece of the development of literacy.
Great, thank you, Harmony. And we just wanted to do that reminder so that if you didn't join us last time, or as what we talked about today, you will have that fresh on your mind as to why we're talking about language development this year. And Christine, if we'll go to the next slide, please. So for today, for our literacy director meeting, we're going to talk about assessments for oral language difficulties. Next slide. So there are some screening and diagnostic assessments available that can help teachers to know where their class is and their students, and to know what their needs are. So some benefits of doing a screening or diagnostic assessment is, number one, those language difficulties can be really hard to diagnose. It might just be a very quiet student. They're not a problem. They just don't ever speak up in class because they don't have that language developed, and they might fly under the radar. Oral language doesn't always develop naturally like we thought. It's not learned implicitly. For some students, it must be explicitly taught. So we need to find those students so that we can do that explicit teaching to them. On an average, 5 to 7% of students have DLD, which is developmental language difficulties. That can be 1 to 2 students per class that are falling under that radar. Also think about all of your English language learners. Those students are also going to benefit for some enhancement of oral language in your tier 1 and tier 2 instruction. And then if you joined our webinar with Charles Hume, he talked about from their data from Snelling and Hume, that if you have a language disorder in preschool, it gives you twice the risk of becoming dyslexic at the age of 8 as having a dyslexic parent. So that just tells you how important it is to have that oral language to find out if students have that deficiency, so that you can address that in your classroom and try to help them as they're moving forward to learning how to read. So we'll go to the next slide. The other reason that we want to talk about this diagnostic assessments and screeners is, if you think of the simple view of reading, if you go to word recognition, and I think that Christine, if you'll click, this has some drop-ins. We have a lot of diagnostic assessments for word recognition. We have a lot of diagnostics for PA and phonics decoding that we do regularly. But do we have any that we do regularly for that language comprehension? So on our current list of assessments, we have the CFAL, but we wanted to add some more assessments for you to for your teachers to use so that they could know where their class and students are so that they can address those language comprehension issues. So if we'll go to the next slide. So this is not an exhaustive list, but just a highlight of some of the things that the assessments measure. They will measure expressive vocabulary and receptive vocabulary. So we know that expressive is how they speak, receptive is how they're listening and taking in that vocabulary. Their listening comprehension, it has sentence repetition and complexity issues, and vocabulary complexity, and much more depending on which assessment that you want to give. So there is more details when you go into the different assessments. We'll go to the next slide. So we just picked a couple of assessments that are quick and easy to give. And we have the Cubed 3. And under Cube 3, there's several assessments. You'd be interested in the narrative language measures. And that assessment can be given in less than 5 minutes for ages 4 to 14. It has progress monitoring included. And there is a paper pencil version that is free, or you can do a digital version. On the paper pencil, of course, you're going to have to score that yourself. On the digital version, it will score it for you. So that is the Cubed 3. The other assessment, excuse me, is Language Screen from Really Great Reading. And if you joined our webinar, that is Charles Hume's assessment. It's Nellie in London, in England. Excuse me. That can take 10 minutes or less. It gives you an instant report. It's done digitally, and there is a free trial. So we did update the USBE early diagnostic assessment document and added that information. Sorry, just a second. And then, so that link is for you so that you can see that document now has more information for that and all of the links. And then there is an informal language survey that you can find for free on Cox campus that is more like a checklist for teachers. If you'll go to the next slide. So what do these assessments look like? So there's some videos that will show you that will just give you a couple of minutes of what that assessment looks like. Christine, if you'll please click on the first link, if you'll go back and click on that first link, and we'll have that video.
Christine, you might have to reshare your screen and click the little button to share your sound because we're not hearing anything.
All right, say that again. You need me to stop sharing, then share again.
Yeah, so if you stop sharing and then when you click to share again, it'll have like a little button where you can like select share sound.
It's so fun. Okay. I didn't see any button that asked about the sound. Am I sharing my screen? You can see it, right?
Yeah, so if you want to try again, yeah, hit play and let's see if we can hear it.
Can you hear that?
No.
Do you want me to try and share mine?
Yeah, you can try.
Okay. Let's see.
Let me stop sharing first though.
Okay.
That'd be helpful. Oh, I see.
Okay. Can you see it?
Yes.
Sorry, there's a Smith's ad.
Yeah, there's an ad. Sorry, I thought I put that
with
out.
our exclusive
Can you hear
brands
it?
and download.
Okay.
This
Yep.
is NLM Listening First Grade, Benchmark Story 3, Winter. This is Bryn. Okay. I'm going to tell you a story. Please listen carefully. When I'm done, you are going to tell me the same story. Are you ready?
Yes.
It was a sunny, radiant day. Ashley, a playful girl, was swimming at the pool. When Ashley got out of the pool, she slipped on the sidewalk. She fell because it was wet. She was upset. Ashley decided to get help because her elbow started to swell. She found a lifeguard who was under his large umbrella. She asked, "Could you help my elbow that is throbbing?" After the lifeguard looked at it, he worriedly said, "Your elbow is swollen. Let's get some ice on it." The lifeguard gently put ice on Ashley's elbow. He used ice so that the swelling would go down. Ashley's elbow felt better. She was happy. Then Ashley walked back to the pool, but this time she was cautious. She swam the rest of the day. Thanks for listening. Now you tell me that story.
Ashley was in the pool. She slipped on the ground. She fell and hurt her arm. She went to the lifeguard and she said, "My elbow hurts. Can you please help my elbow?" He said, "It's swollen. Let me put some ice on it." When it was done cooling her ice, she felt better. That's all.
Okay. Who was this story about?
Ashley.
Where was Ashley in the beginning of the story?
She was in the pool.
Why was Ashley upset?
'Cause she hurt her elbow.
What did they do to fix the problem?
Put ice on it
How did the story end?
by her feeling better.
What will Ashley do when she gets out of the pool?
She will carefully walk out.
Ashley was at the pool on a radiant day. It was sunny. What does radiant mean?
I don't know.
Does radiant mean chilly or bright?
Chilly.
Ashley's elbow was throbbing. It started to swell. What does throbbing mean?
I don't know.
Does throbbing mean hurting or tickling?
Hurting.
She was cautious walking to the pool. She didn't want to fall again. What does cautious mean?
I think it means I don't know.
Does cautious mean careful or quick?
Careful.
In this story, Ashley hurt her elbow. Tell me a story about a time when you got hurt.
I got hurt at a time when I was out of this. It's almost the same story. When I was in a pool and then I got out and I slipped.
Tell me a story about that.
And I hurt my elbow and my knee, and then I just left it, and then I went back in the pool
Is that everything?
to wash it off. Yes.
Thanks, Bryn. Whoops.
Thank you, Julie. Now, if we can go back to the screen with the other links. So we're going to skip the cube. So that was the cubed assessment paper pencil. We're going to skip the cubed video of their digital version because it's the same, but just on the digital. So if that's something you're interested in, you can go back to the link in our presentation and you can see what that looks like. And that's video number 7 on their page. And then we're going to show you what the language screen assessment looks like. So Julie, if you'll click on that link.
Tired of sifting through jobs that don't feel like the right fit? Introducing in
So there's 4 different parts. The first part, you're going to see some pictures today, okay? All you're going to do is tell me what the picture is of. If you don't know, just say, I don't know. Not a big deal, okay?
Okay.
Here we go.
Bed. Umbrella. Castle. Lantern. Glove. Yell. Knife. Whale. Volcano. Scarecrow.
Good job.
I don't know. Grass.
Okay, this next part, we're going to have you listening to the story, okay? So there won't be any pictures, so you have to listen very carefully because afterwards I'm going to ask you questions to see if you were listening well, okay? All right, here we go.
Birthday. Today is Liam's birthday. He's 6 years old. Later, his friends are coming to his party. They will eat cake and play games.
All right. Why is today a special day for Liam?
Because it's his birthday.
You got it. How old is Liam today?
6.
What will Liam be doing later?
Be eating birthday cake.
What will they do at the party?
Play.
This next part, we're going to be looking and listening, okay? So there will be pictures. You're going to see 4 pictures, okay?
Yeah.
And then you're going to hear the iPad say a word. They might say something like dog, and you're just going to pick the picture that looks like a dog, okay?
Okay.
So you have to listen to what he wants you to pick. Are we ready to try?
Yeah.
So you're going to do this one kind of on your own with your own hand.
Yo-yo.
Yo-yo.
Go ahead and touch it.
Shell.
Try again.
Balloon. Microphone.
Here we go.
Thumb. Phone. Sheep. Mountain.
This next part is a listening one. So no pictures, okay? This time you're going to hear the iPad say something, and then you're going to say the same thing. So it's kind of like playing copycat. Have you played that before? Okay. So if he says, dogs run, you're going to say, dogs run. Okay? Can you copy him? Okay, here we go.
Birds fly.
Birds fly.
I help mom.
I help mom.
Babies cry a lot.
Babies cry a lot.
Cats love to chase mice just for fun.
Cats love to take mice just for fun.
A boy gave the girl a ride on his bike.
The girl gave a ride on his bike.
Great job. Look at that celebration. You did awesome.
Thanks, Julie. Yep. So, all of those links to those videos are in our presentation. I also added a picture of the Cox campus. If you'll go back to the previous slide, Julie, their informal survey so that you can see the questions that it would ask. It's in there, and all of those are linked in our presentation. And if you're interested in the cubed assessment, the people that developed that were studying here in Utah. And so a lot of your SLPs are already using the cubed assessment. So they would be a really great resource for you to tap into if that's something that you are interested in, if you want to talk to them about it, or if you want to have them help in the training of how to use that. So just so that you know that that is a resource that you probably have. A lot of our districts, I know for sure, have Alpine, Davis, Canyons have used that that assessment. And if you wanted to use the free version, and all of these assessments are set up so that you don't have to be a licensed teacher to give the assessment. You can go through, it gives some training, And the language screen has an online training module you can go through to get the assessment, and so that your paras could get
Okay.
those assessments as well.
Brooke and Tiff.
All right, next slide, Julie, thank you. So what's coming next? So we know that assessment's important, but assessment is important because it drives our instruction. And so that's what we want to talk about next in our January assessment, is now how can we support that oral language development in instruction in whole class in tier 1? What are some things that we can do? And what are some options that we have for intervention to support that oral language development? And then finally in March, we're going to educate parents on the oral language development and what we can do, because we know it's so important from those birth to 5 years that are out of our control. How can we help our parents to understand and to know what they can do at home to help in that development as well? Thank you. If you missed our the webinar that we had with Charles Hume that was with Language Screen and Really Great Reading, there is a recording here that you can access, and you can also see his slide presentation. So if you missed that, we have that for you to watch. And he goes into some things that you can do in tier 1 to support that in your classroom if you want a little preview of what we're going to be talking about in January. Okay, next slide. And then just thank you for your time and your attention to this important thing that we'll be talking about. Reach out if you have any questions or would like any support with your oral language in your LEAs. Thank you.
Okay, and now we're going to share a few professional learning opportunities that we have coming up and to put on your radar and be aware of, and share with your teachers and educators in your LEA. So I'll hand it back over to Denise to share the next couple, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you. So as you remember from last time, we have Anita Archer coming for a week in January for explicit instruction train the trainer. That has been filled, and we'll be notifying people tomorrow if they have been accepted into that training. But while she's here, she agreed to do a session with teachers. So we're super excited that our teachers can learn from her as well. So if you will share this with your teachers, it'll be January 15th at Syracuse High, the auditorium, from 5 to 7, that your teachers can come. They don't need to register if they're coming in person, but we are combining this with our From the Science to the Classroom webinar series that Harmony's running. And so it is going to be available if they want to watch it on Zoom, and they do need to register to get access to that Zoom that will be live streamed at the same time. But if you've ever learned from Dr. Archer, it's always best to have her in person. She has amazing energy for the age that she's at, and all the traveling and everything she does. And she does that because she's passionate about teachers and wants our students to learn in the best way possible. So please just share that with your teachers so that we can fill the auditorium at Syracuse High and learn from Dr. Archer. Thank you. And then collective efficacy with Jenny Donahue. We already had our first of the Institute down in St. George in September with part 1 and part 2. And we have part 1 and part 2 available in February in Salt Lake. So if anybody is interested in that, there you can get all of the information on these flyers and that link that Courtney just shared to register. We did have set up to do monthly webinars as a community of practice, but unfortunately the attendance to those, I think everybody's super busy. And so we have decided to suspend those, but we will have community of practice in-person events in June, on June 9th and June 10th. So those flyers are included there with links for you to register if you're interested in those. Thank you.
All right, yeah, we mentioned this in our last LD meeting, and we still have some space available for school teams of literacy coaches and K-6 teachers who are interested in participating in the Keys to Literacy Writing Professional Learning Opportunity. What that entails is 12 asynchronous hours plus 3 in-person follow-up sessions, which would be held at a time and a place that'd be convenient for your LEA participants. And if participants engage in all 12 asynchronous hours, plus the in-person follow-up sessions and the reflective journal that is part of the asynchronous coursework, they'll be eligible for 1.5 USBE credits. We are hopeful that we can begin these very soon. We have almost made it
Because the kids don't
through
need a copy.
our
I mean, you don't know the
the kids need a
individual.
copy.
through the
They only need
process
one.
of getting
Right.
all of the things taken care of with purchasing so that we can get started with these. And so if you did fill out the interest form earlier, we hope to be reaching out to you soon to be able to schedule that. Just so you, for some more information about this, for those who are interested, if you can flip the slide there, please. Thank you. There are two different offerings. The early literacy, or the early writing, excuse me, course is geared toward K to second grade teachers. And the content writing course is geared to grades 3 through 6 teachers. And both courses cover directed at those specific grade levels, writing development, supporting students' syntactical understanding, sentence and paragraph building, the writing process, informational, opinion, argumentative, and narrative writing structures, and how to write from sources. And all of this, all of this professional learning is geared to be able to work with any curriculum or program that schools are using, so that it can, whatever program you're using, the keys to writing learnings can help support writing incorporated into the program that you're using. And then if we can flip it one more time. Just as a review, the requirements to participate are that participants must agree to complete 12 hours of asynchronous online training. They also need to complete reflection journal assignments and attend 3 in-person implementation support sessions. So if you're interested or have individuals in your LEA who are interested in participating, we do have about 50 slots remaining. You can click on the URL here, code we have here that Courtney's just put in the chat, and to fill out an interest form, and then we'll be reaching out to you to schedule the times and locations that'll work best for your group for those in-person implementation sessions. And it looks like we have a question. I don't believe we will be offering the keys to literacy writing again next year. That's not in the plans at this point. So this is your best opportunity to be able to for sure take care of those, have that opportunity. And then the location of the in-person sessions, we have several certified facilitators throughout the state and on our ELA team who will be facilitating those, and we will work with your LEA to arrange a time and a place for those in-person sessions that will work best for you. If your group is large enough, we would come right to you to provide those in-person sessions. So I don't see any other questions on that one. If we can flip one more slide. I also want to put out a reminder for the From the Science to the Classroom webinars. You're still able to register for those if you're interested. We've had 2 wonderful sessions already this year, one with Dr. Molly Ness on comprehension and one just last week with Dr. Carol Tolman on creating very impactful read aloud experiences for our students. All of our webinars that we've had permission to record and share can be found at the YouTube address that I just put into the chat if you'd like to look at any of those from last year or this year. As Denise said, we will have Dr. Archer's presentation as in webinar form if you're unable to attend it in person on January 15th, but you do have to register for the webinars in order to participate in that. And then also upcoming, we have Dr. Laura Stewart, who will give us additional information on how Teacher Talk can help develop student oracy, since we're focusing on oral development a lot this year. Also, we have coming in March, Dr. Nancy Eberhardt and Carla Stanford, who will be talking about the importance of syntax and how to help students develop that syntax. I've seen that presentation. It's a wonderful one. And then finally in April, we'll end this year with Dr. Margaret McCown, who will talk to us about building student vocabulary and word consciousness. So if you're not yet signed up to participate in those, please register. And also make sure that you take advantage of the opportunity to go back and view the recordings. Thank you.
Okay, and I'm going to share this one really quickly. So we are able to offer a cohort of foundational literacy skill instruction for middle grade teachers. So this is geared for our 6th through 8th grade teachers. Naomi Watkins is going to be running this. And registration is going to open next Monday. And you'll have till December 5th to register. So please let your 6th through 8th grade teachers know that this will be available. If they complete this professional learning, they will also earn their secondary literacy intervention endorsement at the professional level. So they will be able to accomplish both of those things at the same time. Sorry. So watch for information about that. We'll share it in our weekly news, our weekly update that we send out on Tuesdays. And then Naomi will also share it with her secondary ELA leaders as well through her thing as well. So watch for information about that. And then we also have a book study with Patty Montgomery. She's one of our Science of Reading panel members, and many of you have probably heard her speak. She has combined her consulting agency with Keys to Literacy, and she has put out a new book. It's called It's Possible, and so we are running a book study, and this is geared for coaches and their principals to join together. And so there is information here that you can read about it, and then the link that Courtney dropped in the chat box to register. And please encourage coach and principal partnerships to join together, because as they go through the book study, they will learn how they can work to really implement that literacy in their schools that they are working with. And so go ahead and share that with your principals and your coaches so that we can fill that cohort, and they will receive the copy of the book as part of the book study. And then I'm going to turn it over to Courtney.
Sorry, I was looking for my mute button. Okay, so we're just looking currently at if there is any interest within your LEAs to see if there is to do another letters cohort. It's not for sure. We're just trying to figure out the interest. So this would again be on K3 teachers, any administrators that maybe are new or haven't done the opportunity to do the full letters program, or if you've got new literacy coaches. And then again, psychologists and your special ed teachers and special ed directors can also join. So there's just an interest form. I've dropped it into the chat. And it's also linked here. It just asks for your name, about how many you think would be interested in your LEA or your school. And then once we get that information back, we will see if there's enough interest to pursue getting that going, and we'll give you an update in January when we meet again on that. And then the next slide, a lot of you, we have about 200, a little over 200 people participating with Jake Downs right now in 3 different locations, and it has been phenomenal so far. He is been doing a great job talking about fluency and comprehension and giving really great strategies. I know that teachers have really appreciated coming. We're really lucky that we have been approved to do one in June. It's going to be 4 days long. We're just waiting for those final signatures to confirm a location and the dates, but we do know it will be in early June, and it will be doing it down in Iron County. As soon as that information becomes available, we will send out sign up links to sign up, and we'll have about 75 to 100 that we can accommodate down in Iron County. That first week of June is when we're looking for. So look for that information to come.
Hey,
and then I think we're
great.
going to head to break.
Yep, we'll go to a break and we'll take 10 minutes. So we'll come back at 10:16. Thanks. Right, it is 10:16 and we would like to welcome you all back from our break. And we are going to jump right into assessment now. And we have Dallas Brooks here from our assessment team to share some updates and information from them. Thanks.
Thank you, Julie. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. I just have a few updates regarding assessment, not a ton today, so we will just go over those. So the first thing I wanted to go over was just some updates for Acadians reading. I'm sure you are all aware, but just a reminder that our testing window for middle of year is coming up really soon. That opens up December 1st, and then it goes all the way through January 31st. So making some kind of room for Christmas breaks in their winter breaks. And then the data entry window and parent notification deadline is the end of February. So you have that month after the window closes to get your data entry in and then those parent notifications. I have linked on this slide just some sample notification letters. Those, again, they're not required. They're just some ideas of some letters that you can use. Also on this slide, I have the video there. I'm not going to have us watch it today, but it is a video about goal setting within ALO and then also pathways of progress. This can be really beneficial to share out with administrators and with teachers, just getting a really solid understanding of the pathways of progress and why it is important to go in and set those goals in ALO. Thank you, Julie, for your comment there. So again, ALO, it will set goals automatically for students, but it can be really beneficial to go in and check those goals. They're not always accurate. They're not always reflective of what teachers are wanting to do with their students. So if you could just share that video out, that would be amazing. And then we have also in the assessment department, we've been working really hard on creating some parent resources that can be shared out with parents during SEPs, during parent nights, things like that. So I have linked one video underneath the parent resource. It is What is Acadians Reading? So these are two separate videos. The one there is for educators. The one that is linked is for parents. So again, if you would share that out with educators and ask them to share it with the parents of their students. It's just a really brief overview of what Acadians Reading is and just some ways that we can get parents more involved in their child's education and create that partnership amongst teachers and parents. So that is Acadians Reading. Oh, Melinda, thank you so much. That's Acadians Reading. And then I have a few updates regarding RISE on the next slide. So I'm sure all of you are aware, but scores for ELA and writing have been released. So we are very excited to have those available for you. So those are available on the RISE portal. For ELA, I have linked a standards breakdown on this slide for you. That just lets you know which standards correlate to the reporting categories on RISE. So if you want to go ahead and view that resource, it can be helpful. You can also share that out with educators so they can see it as well. And then a few updates regarding writing. Writing benchmarks are available for grades 3 through 8. So we are very, very excited about this, especially because it encompasses all grade levels, grades 3 through 8. So it's not just that summative for 5th and 8th grade. So educators, grades 3 through 8 can go in and have their students participate in these benchmarks. And then also rubrics for grades 3 through 8. So for those benchmarks are available on the RISE website under resources. There are also annotated samples for grades 5 and 8 on the Utah RISE website as well. So educators can go in and look at those rubrics. They can also look at some samples to see how students are being assessed, how those rubrics are being applied. The great thing about the annotated samples is that they are actual authentic student writing. So you can see that. Just keep in mind though that these rubrics are really meant for on-demand writing. So the rubrics on the RISE portal are not meant for writing that has gone through multiple feedback and revisions. It's just for that on-demand writing. And then again, like I said, we've been working on developing some of those parent resources. So we do have some parent resources for RISE as well, and those are linked here on this slide. So these are pamphlets that you can share out. They're flyers, actually not pamphlets, but they're flyers that you can share with parents that just kind of explains the RISE assessment. Again, trying to create more of that partnership amongst educators and parents. But yes, so that, like I said, I don't have a ton to share today, just a few updates. Let me check in the chat to make sure I'm not missing any questions. So Rebecca asked, just clarifying, writing scores will be the 2 scored connected to the rubrics, no proficiency score given, correct? Yes, Rebecca, thank you so much for asking that question. So the intention with the writing assessments now are that the student receives 2 separate scores. They're not combined at all. They get 1 score for the composition of their writing, and then they get a completely separate score for the conventions. So yes, those are 2 separate scores. Thank you, Rebecca, for asking that question. And thank you, Amber. Let me check. Do we have a recording for the BOI Acadience training, both for coaches and leaders? So Amber, I am guessing that you are meaning for the data analysis, hopefully. That recording, I know that our tech is working on getting that kind of finalized and up and going, but it is not available as of yet. Should be available soon. Okay, I am not seeing. Thank you, Amber. I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat, but again, if you ever have any assessment questions, feel free to reach out to me. And thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much, Dallas. And if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat box. I think Dallas will be here for the next few minutes so she can answer them if something comes up. But we want to just kind of share some updates and information about things that have been happening and going on that we want to highlight and spotlight. So if you can go ahead and go to the next slide, and then one more. So we were super excited. On October 27th, we had a Science of Reading Awards night, and we were super grateful to be able to honor we have had 65 educators receive the Science of Reading Award, so we spotlighted them. And then we also honored those schools that had already met this, that had 70% of their 3rd graders reading on grade level, and we highlighted the teachers. We had just a little dessert and just had some great words from our superintendent, and we were able to honor and support them and help them to know that we are paying attention to all the great things that are happening around the state. So we were excited to celebrate that night. And then if you want to if you would like to nominate for a Science of Reading Award, on our next slide here, we have the form that you can fill out to complete. And the categories are for schools, a school leader, a principal, a teacher, a district leader, and a coach. And just so you know that after they are nominated, our team does come out and vet them. Sometimes we do ask for an LEA leader to vet them for us. If we get a lot of nominations and we don't have time to get out to lots of places, we may ask you as an LEA leader to also go and observe and provide us some feedback. But we do come and do, if it's a teacher, we do come and do a classroom visit. If it's a coach or a district leader or principal, we do have questions that we do ask them. And then, so just so you know that we do vet them. We do go through an extensive process before we give them an award. And then I'll go ahead and turn it over to Denise.
Thank you, Julie. So we're excited to let you know that we have updated our core guides. So they have been updated for grades 3 through 5, and they're available on our English Language Arts website. grades 6 through 12 will be coming soon. But if you'll go to our website, the new updated versions that align with the new assessments and the writing rubrics are there. Made sure that we enhanced that vertical alignment and worked, the assessment team did a really great job of helping to do that. So check those out on our website.
All right, I wanted to talk really briefly about our upcoming regional literacy nights that we will be doing starting in February. We're really excited for this. We have 5 or 6 locations, and we're just working on all the details. We're working with our community engagement specialist, Susie Estrada. We have one in San Juan planned for February 11th, one in Iron County for February 12th, one in Juab. Somewhere in Juab, March 4th, Cache County, April 9th, and Davis County, April 15th. We're just really excited about that. We just wanted you to know that these are regional literacy events. Like I said, we'll be getting some help and support from the communities in those areas, especially some teachers to run some sessions and things. So I may be reaching out to some of you and getting some names from you, but those times, locations, and invites will be coming in 2026, but we just wanted to make you aware that that is something we're really excited and passionate about, engaging our communities in these efforts that we're working on. And then we have our Kids Read Now we have added a community engagement component for Kids Read Now. And we have some in-person sessions and they are starting next week. Apologize about that last minute. Anything that we try to get through our process, it takes a long time. So we'd had things all set up, but it just took a little bit longer, so we couldn't advertise for quite a bit. But we're excited for these. These are for both those of you that have Title I schools and they have participated in the Kids Read Now program. This is for you. Those who are just interested in learning more about how to engage communities in literacy, this is for you. This is also for 21st century grantees, after school programs, all of those kind of things. It will be tailored. You'll get information that will be very helpful. So we will be sharing at these kickoff meetings. We're just giving an overview of what are the things we're planning on doing and then some practical tools to use. I know we have some community of practice sessions that we're planning on doing. We have some really great parent engagement sessions that are going to be like 30 minutes that we're hoping to get out to communities across the state to just give parents an extra boost in how they can support literacy in their homes. So, and of course, there will be a deep dive into kind of the Kids Read Now program and how can those LEAs that are part of that program leverage that program and get their communities really excited in the springtime for, hey, like we're sending home 4 books during the summer for your students, and here are some great strategies and tools and things that you can do with that. Maybe some of you are thinking, well, we've been doing this program for 3 years and, it's great. We want to send books and you're ready for that next level of let's really engage the communities and really prepare them for these books that are going to go home. And maybe you want to host an event or something. There'll be some great ideas for that. And all of these things will be tied to the science of reading. So I just strongly encourage you to please share out the link. I think I've had 70 people sign up so far. We've got these 4 locations. They're not specifically just for that location. It's just think of it as a regional thing. They're in regions. One is down in Washington County. So any of those areas around there, charter schools districts who want to attend, feel free to just sign up for that one. We have one in Springville, hoping we can get, anyone in that area, Springville, Nebo, Alpine, all those charter schools in those areas, even some of our, like Carbon County, if they wanted to make the drive. We're excited about that. And we also do have a virtual opportunity as well. We have one in Salt Lake and then there's one in Ogden. So we're very excited about that. So please share this with all your Title I principals, all your Kids Read Now coordinators, if you have them. Any of those people who are overseeing your Kids Being Out program, anyone who's over community engagement, that would include your parent communities, anyone that you think would benefit from this type of work. All right, thank you.
Okay. And I am going to just talk really briefly about the upcoming legislative session. Can we believe that it's like that we're having these discussions already and it's November? But believe it or not, there have already been over 1,200 bill files opened for this legislative session, not all related to education, but yes, there are a handful that are. So we do want to share with you some of the things that have come from the board as requests to the legislature to have these changes. So the first page here, we have our statutory change requests. So these are just where we would like code changed and what we are asking for to be changed in code. No funding is tied to these, but just looking for those things to be changed. So one of the things that what the board has requested is to have the repeal of the early learning plan and repeal of the math components of the early learning plan. So as you could know, over the years, it started as a great early literacy plan with funding tied to it. And then a couple of years ago, the funding was rolled into the at-risk WPU. Which then made this early learning plan what we like to refer to in our agency as an unfunded mandate. And so it's a requirement on LEAs. It can be burdensome. And and there is no funding tied to it. So those have been suggested to repeal the plan. And basically what that would do would be take away the math portion of it, like they did with the literacy a couple of years ago, where there would be no more system of support for math, no more no lit training, correct? There would no longer be lit training in June because there would be no plan to complete. Yes. So and are they asking that that will be replaced with something else? We'll talk about that on the funding requests on the next slide in just a second. But as far as a plan goes, no, there is not a plan that would be replacing it. And so, so just so you know, that is out there. It does still have to go through the legislative session. So that's one that we will be keeping our eye on as it goes through session. And Christine, if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide. This next slide is funding priorities. So each year the board does put forth their top priorities of things that they would like to be funded. And we do know that it is a very tight year. They are looking at budgets everywhere. And so we don't know if any of these will be funded, but these are the requests from the board, and they do rank these in order of their priorities. So number one priority is, I've kind of circled a few that would have an impact on your space. So to just keep your mind aware of. So the first one is that WPU increase. And then the second one that I have circled there is a paraprofessional K-3 grant program. So we have board member Longacre, who is a new board member. She replaced Molly Hart when she became our superintendent. And she she put forth to request that her original idea was like the hope to be able to put a trained paraprofessional in every K-3 classroom. That would be hundreds of millions of dollars to be able to provide that, which we would love to be able to do. But knowing that it's a lean year, she has changed that to a grant opportunity to be able to put a paraprofessional. And it wouldn't just be another body in the classroom. They would be somebody who is trained to support in literacy, math, and also looking to be able to support also with behaviors as well in the classroom. So that's one to kind of keep an eye on, that if it gets passed through, it would be a grant. If you click on the link to the funding priorities that Courtney dropped in there, there is additional information below about each of the funding requests. The next funding request is priority number 4 for our board. It does have another quite hefty fiscal note attached to it. But what it is we are looking to run a K-8 literacy and numeracy bill. What this would do is what we were looking at is it kind of takes the best parts that we have of SB 127 and expands that through 8th grade and also into the math space. Some key things to think about with this would be that there would be professional learning for literacy in for our 4th through 6th grade teachers that weren't able to participate in the professional learning with letters. We don't know that it would be letters, but it would be something that would be applicable, especially when we're looking at those middle school ages and for the teachers in those grade levels, what would be beneficial for them. We would also be providing there would also be a professional learning provided for all K through 8th grade teachers in best practices in math. So that is also something that is part of it. One of the big things that we are looking to shift is the goal for that we have currently set, where it is 70% of our students are reading on grade level. And we know that that reading on grade level is based off of Acadience, and Acadience is a screener, and best practice is to not make a screener a high stakes assessment, which it has become. And so we would be shifting this to, our goal would be shifting to be an increase in our RISE assessment for third grade and 8th grade in both ELA and math. And we currently have the Center for Assessment, I believe is, I think Sid McCarty, our assessment director, is connecting with the Center for Assessment to look at some historical data and growth and what would be what we like to call, a SMART goal, where it's like measurable, attainable, and reliable and timely. So it would be based off of what we've been able to do, an increase in literacy in ELA and math on RISE, and then look to push that just a little bit farther. So they are doing a deep dive into some regression data and what would be possible for that goal. So we would be shifting that off so that our Acadience can be what it is intended to be, where it is screening our students to find and identify those students who are at risk so that we can provide them with the necessary things. And then the other thing too is also shifting it to be, are we teaching our kids the standards, and are they attaining our standards in Utah? So we have our standards in place for a reason, and those are the things that we want our students to know and be able to do. And we know the screening assessment is necessary for identifying those students at risk, but then also what are we doing to teach those grade level standards so that our students can master those standards as well. It would also provide that screening assessment for to go up through 8th grade in both literacy and math. So it would expand that opportunity to be able to use that screening assessment for all students in all grade levels. We know that it goes to 6th grade right now for literacy, but for math, we only have it available for K through 3. So we are looking to be able to expand it in both of those areas. So those are some of the big things that we would be like shifting with that bill if that bill were to go through. And then number 8 that is circled on the other side is related to number 4, but also a separate request because we didn't want to throw all of our eggs in one basket. So this year we do know that the math assessment is open for RFP. And so they will be running that RFP, but currently the amount of funding that we receive for the math assessment isn't enough to cover all of the LEAs that we are required to cover. So we are also asking for an additional funding request to be able to get a math assessment that will meet the needs of our educators, and we will be able to pay for it. So because right now we don't have enough money to continue to even pay for Acadian's math in K through 3. So we are looking at that would be included in number 4, but if number 4 doesn't go through, we're asking for number 8 as like, we can't throw all of our eggs in the same basket, because we do still need this additional funding for the required math assessment. So those are some of the top things. You can see there that there are additional things on the list as well, with Beverly Taylor Sorensen, and some internal USBE FTE needs. Those are mostly focused around the professional practices, and the auditing departments, because they get very bogged down and backed up in audits and the UPAC things. So they're looking to be able to provide some more there. And then transportation and the master pilot, and then the Adobe Creative Cloud licenses. So there is that there. And then if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide. So some information and things that we are hearing from our superintendency of the direction of our agency is we will be working to ensure that code, board rule, and our strategic plan are being met and aligned with, and we will be looking at doing some monitoring and ensuring compliance. So just be transparent about the direction and the things that we are receiving, the information that we are receiving. The board and the superintendency are very committed to ensuring that state code, board rule are followed, and we will be providing some more information about what that may look like in the future. And then our board did just recently adopt a strategic plan. So I'm going to turn it over to Courtney for her to explain about our new strategic plan that the board adopted, I believe, in October's board meeting or September. Can't remember. It's been a long conversation for years. So we'll turn it over to Courtney.
All right. So I just dropped a link that gives you a more comprehensive view of the strategic plan, but I just wanted to quickly touch on their vision, which is just to open doors and opportunity for all Utah children. And so in the link, it kind of goes into more detail, but it talks about, we're able to help children participate in civic responsibilities and provide for themselves and their families in the future, engage in post-secondary opportunities, and pursue personal goals, are some of those more in depth to that vision. And then their mission is to have academic and organizational excellence in Utah education for an educated citizenry. And so having high academic goals, protecting information systems, managing public education funds, developing policy for education, all kind of fall underneath their mission. And then they have 3 goals. One is to elevate their student learning. And so the way they are going to do that is having clear and concise and rigorous academic standards, ensure assessment systems will evaluate our content knowledge, along with some other things, and then also to support initiatives and interventions that enable educators to help close that learning gap. Their second goal is to work on educator quality and effectiveness. And so helping to establish systems and identify support to support highly effective educators to give us best practice to our students, along with streamlining the licensing pathways, which I think many will be happy about that streamlining process. And then goal 3 is to optimize oversight and accountability. Really just, they want to make sure that everyone understands the required expectations, and then to help make sure that we are supporting and monitoring that these are being complied to in order to reach all of the other goals. So that's just a very brief overview. The document that I dropped has a lot more detail, and the board continues to like refine and work on this. And so I'm sure as more information becomes available, we'll continue to share that with you.
Great. Thank you, Courtney. And then just another quick reminder that if you have literacy leaders that you know of that aren't on our listserv, that it would be beneficial for them to be on our listserv, please share this with them so that they can get signed up, or they can reach out to Charla and Charla will add them to the list. So there is that information there. And then just we can go to the next slide. We have just a few additional reminders, and then we will open it up for Q&A. So, I think our only reminder is that our next lit training will be January 22nd from 9 to 12, and then we have our last one March 17th from 9 to 12. Yep, St. Patrick's Day, so yay! So hopefully you can all join us on those days for that. So then the last thing we have is we just have Q&A. So we will turn it over to you. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now.